The Redemption Inquiry by Michael Diamond. Chapter 3, At Black Market, in which the author gives the reader an eyeful of the dark underbelly of the beast, as spilled by a former pal deep in the pay of the political goons. The view from the redemption in both directions through time's window. My pal Seesaw, Shawsham Beg in Gaelic, first-generation Brooklyn. Changed it to Simon Begg to pass for a big dog. I judge him harshly that night. Guilty of sin. Guilty of democracide. Have you read Grisham's latest? His opening gambit. Seesaw's unredeemed face, a beacon of pure ferocity, with barely a soupçon of unacknowledged irony, poised as if to hear his master's voice. The siren call of plutocracy's Victrola. It must be August 9th, 2008. Only 6 months and change before the world slides irretrievably into the next phase of the hostile takeover by the moneyed goons. 9th of August, the eve of Tisha B'Av on the Jewish lunisolar calendar, tipping point of oblivion. 2008 sees the demise of Adi Da, Guru Mahesh Maharishi Yogi, Opus the Penguin, and S&H Green Stamps. No, I've never read any Grisham, I cop warily. I am prepared for the usual tale of corporate daring-do I've come to expect on these outings. Seesaw and my wife Beth share a birthday, so he and Anya and Beth and I are out for the annual birthday ritual, a trendy suburban bistro, Black Market. The girls have just stepped out for their obligatory powder. This year it's an early dinner on account of me wanting to make the proper ritual observance of the eve of destruction. Thanatos has already gained the upper hand. A little over a century till the big trigger will be pulled, the technological singularity. Enlightenment out of reach, and the redemption a whispered dream. Let's hit the pause button for a minute here. The year of the fateful birthday celebration, when Seesaw spills the beans, is the year before the billionaire sociopath sealed the political fate of every citizen of the U.S. of A. 2009 is the year money becomes Imperatoris in aeternum, emperor forever. 2008 is the setup. The year markets tank all around the globe. Why? Because the sleight of hand, now you see me, now you don't boys are handing out credit to losers and then betting on them to lose. The fix is in from the bottom feeders to the top hats, from subprime mortgage lenders to the mortgage insurers to the bond raiders to the Wall Street reporters to the credit default swappers. Conmen and pirates. Sociopathy is the plot du jour. Seesaw is ahead of the game, a privateer for the Fortune 100 fat cats. 2009, the year toward which this story arcs, turns out to be a thrilling year for tales of piracy, terror, and international criminal regimes. Here's what it looks like in the funny papers. Kabuki theater on foreign soil, distraction from the business at home. Pirates set sail on the high seas off the coast of Somalia. The Japanese, the Chinese, and the Americans send their military heavies to apprehend the scurvy crews. Har! The Maersk, Alabama is boarded by Somali pirates in little motorboats, the first pirate seizure of a ship under the American flag since the 1820s. Double har! That same year, former Union of Congolese Patriots leader Thomas Lubanga gets his mug dragged before a tribunal, the first trial at the International Criminal Court. Arraigned for training child soldiers to kill, pillage, and rape. Yikes! Former Peruvian President Alberto Fujimori is sentenced to 25 years on account of ordering murders and kidnappings by his security thugs. Hiss! The International Criminal Court also puts out a warrant for Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir for slaughtering people and starving others to death in Darfur. About time, lads! The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime kicks off the Blue Heart campaign against human trafficking. Evil bastards on notice. The Tamil Tigers, the Hindu terrorist organization in Sri Lanka, who, by the by, invented suicide vests and pioneered the use of air power in terrorist attacks, are brought under the boot of the Sri Lankan armed forces. Whew! However, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security discovers that cyber thugs in the pay of Russia, China, and other nations have penetrated the U.S. electrical grid. Oh no! Vladimir Putin sends clear signals of his intent to retake the helm of the Russian ship of state. Watch out, boys and girls. The stakes of the international game of cops and robbers keeps going up, chasing bad guys across the surface of the planet, while the real saboteurs are dismantling the system from the inside back home. Seesaw, Simon to his high-class Confederates, proceeds unbidden. Grisham took the whole damn thing right out of our playbook. I wait for Seesaw to settle into the tale. A professional raconteur, he can weave a presidential election out of a hanging Chad. In fact, he did just that, but that's another story. Yeah, I didn't want to buy the book and support the douchebag, so I sit in the airport bookstore and read it. Didn't give Grisham a goddamn dime. With a slight nod to himself, Seesaw indicates he's ready to spill. The rest of the story is a bona fide jaw-dropper. Well, most of it is pretty darn close to the truth. Only our main guy is definitely not an adulterer. That just isn't fair. He's a good guy. And then, of course, there's the creepy bit at the end of the story, the part that Grisham misses. That's where they tell the newly elected Chief Justice of West Virginia that, if he wants to keep the job that they hand him on a Tupperware platter, he'll, of course, hire the clerk of their choice. The real kicker is that the clerk will write his opinions for him. Spoiler alert, it's the new justice's ex-boss. So, you know I work part-time for this organization my firm lends me out to, Citizens for Better Governance, right? He told me about the shadowy network of Fortune 100 companies convened to funnel money into political covert ops, making the world safe for corporate greed. I'm not sure why he talks about his cloak and dagger dealing so openly, like he has to get it off his chest or something. I once mentioned it to the lone Republican lobbyist at a family dinner on a palatial estate in the Hamptons. She got all excited, said they do great work, important work. She has no idea. She's so excited that she sings about it to her boss back in D.C., who happens to be a well-placed operative in Seesaw's corporate underworld. Word gets back to Seesaw that he should shut up and quit chirping to that diamond guy. But by that time, I know. Interlude. Partitions. The Mexican mannequin, a sparrow in a morning coat, courts his lovers in a lek, a posse of male competitors leaping and hurling themselves over each other in a manic dance of lust, a Darwinian two-step, a moonwalking Michael Jackson on methamphetamine. Poor machines made of flesh, doomed to the handful of routines for which they are wired. Yes, mine can play its heart out on this Aeolian harp of a machine, combining and recombining to great effect the full range of possible airs. But in the end, it is not the machinery that distinguishes them from the Emperor's nightingale, is it? Or else, the defeat of John Henry, Paul Bunyan, and Garry Kasparov by their respective opposing automata would spell the end of humanity as we conceive it. Am I right? The only acceptable answer, 11001000110110110001. We are each of us variations on a theme, lovers on cue. So many species, each its unique song and dance, mutually unintelligible to each other. The family Prippidae, the breakdancers of the singing and perching order Passeriformis, sports 56 species scattered among its 18 genuses. You've got your white-crowned mannequin, your crimson-hooded, your band-tailed and wire-tailed mannequin. You have golden-headed, red-capped, red-headed, round-tailed, and scarlet-horned mannequins. Then there's your blue-crowned, blue-rumped, cerulean-capped, snow-capped, golden-crowned, opal-crowned, orange-bellied, and white-fronted mannequins. The helmeted and the Arapipi mannequins are the sole representatives of the genus Antilophia. Next up is the long-tailed, the lance-tailed, the blueback, the yungas, and the blue mannequin. Following on, the pin-tailed, the golden-winged, the white-bibbed, white-rubbed, and white-throated mannequins. Fast-paced, the white, the orange, and the golden-collared, and their white-bearded mannequin confrere. Shifting genus again, we find the fiery-capped, the eastern, and the western striped, and their near cousin, the club-winged mannequin. Then let fly with the black, the olive, the green, the lighta, the yellow-headed, and the jet mannequin. In hot pursuit, the flame, the orange, the yellow, and the saffron-crested, the last a tyrant by genus. The other tyrants, the sulphur-bellied, the pale-bellied, the weeds, the Seradomar, the dwarf, and the tiny, tyrant mannequins all. And last we have the questionable piprites, black-capped, gray-headed, wing-barred, all vying to be real mannequins. Nature's wingmen in search of favorable reception. From Mulligan, S.P.B., The Medical Alchemist. End of interlude. Seesaw is shameless about his work. I never can seem to remember the exact name of his covert ops group, probably a combination of disbelief about my buddy hanging out with anti-democratic thugs and the generic blandness of the names concocted by these kinds of ersatz operations. Citizens like hell. Even his wife Anya isn't so sure she wants in anymore. Reminds her too much of her cousins in the Russian mafia. But Seesaw is flat-out ebullient in regaling me of the operation. It must be intoxicating for him, a blue-collar Irish kid from the Bronx. His family are Democrats all the way back to Adam. But when his pop dies in an industrial accident and the company lawyers swindle his mother out of any claim on her husband's future income, Seesaw can go one of two ways. Seesaw could have grown up to be a zealous crusader against corporate greed and its pernicious effects on the little guy. Or he could do just what he did, join the winning team. He sees firsthand the crushing effects of poverty early on and swears it will never happen to his family. What can a poor boy do? So they send me to West Virginia. It's a real challenge, like the most unfriendly judiciary for corporations. Seesaw mimes his disgust. I can laugh at that comic look of dismay now, kind of like the look on Jughead's face when Archie says he's going to marry Veronica instead of Betty. Would you get a load of that? These days, even Seesaw thinks his slavish commitment to the corporate goons is morbidly funny, now that we're all on the same page, the last page, the redemption. The thing about telling stories is it's never exactly the same as the first rendition, real life whispered down the lane. And even the first rendition is nothing compared to the events themselves. By the time the story makes it into Grisham's novel, it's a page-turner, but it's definitely missing some of the juice I got from Seesaw. I can't even imagine the evil shit he doesn't tell me. Whispers. As Elie Wiesel tells it in his introduction to his novel, The Gates of the Forest, humans play Scheherazade to God's uxoricidal sultan. He concludes, God made man because he loves stories. I never get tired of Wiesel's story of stories. When Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov, the founder of Hasidism, saw that the Jewish people was threatened by tragedy, he would go to a particular place in the forest where he lit a fire, recited a particular prayer, and the miracle was accomplished, averting the tragedy. Later, when the Baal Shem Tov's disciple, the Maggid of Mezrich, had to intervene with heaven for the same reason, he went to the same place in the forest, where he told the Master of the Universe that while he did not know how to light the fire, he could still recite the prayer, and again the miracle was accomplished. Later still, Rabbi Moshe Leib of Sasov, in turn a disciple of the Maggid of Mezrich, went into the forest to save his people. I do not know how to light the fire, he pleaded with God, and I do not know the prayer, but I can find the place, and this must be sufficient. Once again, The miracle was accomplished. When it was the turn of Rabbi Israel of Rizhin, the great-grandson of the Maggid of Mizrich, who was named after the Baal Shem Tov, to avert the threat, he sat in his armchair, holding his head in his hands, and said to God, I am unable to light the fire, I do not know the prayer, and I cannot even find the place in the forest. All I can do is tell the tale. Seesaw inhales sharply through both nostrils, then opens his mouth to exhale his fable of magic and miscreants. The guy who's Chief Justice of the West Virginia Supreme Court is probably one of the most popular politicians ever in the whole state of West Virginia. For years, he runs his rogue court, deciding cases overwhelmingly in favor of plaintiffs, the most anti-corporate judicial environment in the country. We're never going to find a Republican to beat him in the state of West Virginia, so we've got to pick his conservative Democrat lawyer with no judicial experience whatsoever. He's happy as a clam to accept our $1 million backing, no questions asked. Thank you very much. Seesaw smiles his cat that got the canary smile, never once looking me in the eye. We get this great team of hungry young Turks with blackberries to research the hell out of the judge. Bingo! Find an incident where all 3 judges accidentally sign off on a work release to place a convicted child molester, get this, in a school. All 3 douchebags. Can you imagine that? Pay dirt. Seesaw grins a supremely self-satisfied grin, shaking his head slowly side to side, a dog worrying its prey in slow motion. Matter of fact, it never actually happens. They catch the mistake before the creep is released. Same difference, though. Don Blankenship, the Coal King, is in this one with us. Creates a fake grassroots organization, Save the Kids, based on the decision that never even frickin' played out. Works every time. AstroTurfing. Gotta love it. My gut begins to clench. Feels like it wants to expel something rank. Seesaw lets out a huge, open-mouthed, silent whinny as he shoves back from the table. People just start calling in and signing on. Big protests, news coverage, the works. It's great. Matter of fact, we create a second AstroTurf protest group just making sure we have all our bases covered. Really beat the bushes. In the next life, Seesaw comes back as my dog. A real man's dog. You can see the craftiness in his face. A Saluki is nobody's fool. I have to laugh out loud when I figure out who my faithful Caleb is. That dog's a real conniving SOB. I have a strong hunch during my tenure with Caleb that Moshiach, the savior of humanity, is finally going to show up. I'm coming up on retirement in 2121 when I have an uncannily strong premonition. The wheels are coming off of Leviathan, the artificial island where all us surviving humans are hustled by the AIs. Then it happens. I sense it, the moment the whole universe changes. I know it sounds crazy after all these incarnations. I'm a pretty good writer, but the spooky certainty I have is hard to describe. I give it my best shot. I have to sit down and put it in writing or I'll forget the feel of it. When I finally have it all down, I read it out loud, try it out on Caleb. He's my only companion since my husband died. I'm a bit of a mystic in that life, though mostly I keep it to myself. I know Caleb will keep our secret. Listen, this is the day of our release from the Tsar's prison. The heavenly mandate has been decided. It is permitted, put through. The assembly line of the cosmic demiurge is cranked and ready to roll. The distribution of parcels by the divine visage. The holy rabbi is released, his mission sanctioned, his extraordinary rendition. I see my beloved splayed out against the Milky Way, hand-painted toes wriggling in delight. He eyes me coyly, a sidelong glance, and I return from the far reaches of the Kuiper Belt, redolent of planetesimals. You say that it's a celery root, and I say it's a goddamn KBO. Bowl me over with interstellar ice balls. Better yet, lob me a slow arching underhanded pitch, one that I can hit out of the park. Yes, it is permitted. Revive all of the dead souls. Pluck the jewel from the crown and crush it. Pulverize it and pour each shining bit into the slack-jawed open mouth of the zombie nation. Yes, though more than half of it will go to waste, spilling into the void of deep interstellar space. Oh, the part that gets in, that shines from the heart, from the eyes, from the tips of the fingers and the crown of the head. There is no turning back. I hear the sound of an implacable machine grinding eternity in its gears. The broad-faced one smiles his knowing and weary smile. I have stared into the underside of the crown, seen bands of every language concentric, lining the crown with the tongues of all humanity. My heart catches, my entire being sighs. I am afraid that is not enough. O lover, O father, O mother, I see now that I am small, the small face, and the tears that I weep are harsh. They mingle with your tears, my beloved. The sweet and gentle rain that falls from your eyes softens the hot downpour from mine. Mother and father, millions of miles away, locked in their intergalactic post-mortem state, move in me. The beard on my face is white with age, yet the face itself is small, small as a toddler who's wandered far from the safety of home. Home. Meanwhile, Seesaw's candidate never knows about any of the backroom manipulations and the millions of out-of-state dollars pouring into West Virginia. Plausible deniability. Forbes and Time magazine describe it as the nastiest election of 2004, part of the U.S. Chamber of Congress's war on judges. Part of the reason justice is out of reach for the average American Joe or Jane. For Seesaw, just another well-played game of world domination. When the smoke clears, Seesaw's boy is right where they need him. It is his thumbs down, bought and paid for by the defendant, old Don Blankenship himself, that puts the kibosh on the little guy's appeal. No recusal, just a slam dunk for the corporate boogeymen. Seesaw doesn't reveal to me at dinner that night that the big plan is to head off the Caperton versus Massey coal case before it reaches the West Virginia Supreme Court on appeal. Massey's CEO, Don Blankenship, is a bad hombre straight out of Central Casting. He is eventually convicted as the chief culprit in the Upper Big Branch mine disaster, a complete and utter lack of conscience. He can, without compunction, instruct his foreman to force the miners to flip their safety badges around while traipsing Pluto's terrain. Few molecules of noxious gas will reach the detectors. He regularly tightens his grip over his capos by plunking down cans of Dad's root beer on their desk. It's an intended sign to anyone with eyes in their head. They all know the DAD acronym. Do as Don says. The real reason for all the court-stacking shenanigans is that the cabal of suits simply have to prop up one of their own. Nothing to do with politics per se. Strictly business. A good man and his family are destroyed in the bargain. Hugh Caperton's family-run West Virginia coal company doesn't stand a chance against the well-funded behemoth. After I read Grisham's The Appeal, I understand it. The societal and legal ramifications the Seesaw omitted from the story are truly horrifying. The next year I read about the case in the papers when it makes it to the U.S. Supremes. It still gives me the heebie-jeebies when I remember how Seesaw tells me with particular relish the part of the story that never sees the light of day, the bit about assigning their hand-picked clerk to write the judge's opinions for him. If the dude wants to keep his job, I'm stunned. Seesaw has zero qualms about undermining both the electoral and judicial process. How does he sleep at night? I'll never forget. We're driving around the Washington Beltway when I ask him. His answer? It's just a damn shame that people are so friggin' stupid. I'm quieter than usual when the ladies return to the table. I feel like my good friend Seesaw has been extracted into a spaceship and replaced by an alien. I feel sick. In fact, all three of my dinner companions might as well be little green men. I can suddenly hear the social fabric fraying and tearing around me. They say that Job is a man of infinite patience. Bullshit. It's a crock. His mind is blown. He has no idea what hit him. He rends his garment and tears his hair. He doesn't know what the hell hit him. The voice from the whirlwind, the so-called adversary, the left hand of the divine name. And just as quickly as he loses it all, he gets it all back. Presto changeo. Except, is this his beautiful wife? Are these his beautiful children? Is this his beautiful house? No, they're all replacements. Job had Capgras syndrome. They'd lock him away if he admits what he really knows. The previous story has been erased, rewritten. They probably wiped his memory. I'm not sure, but I don't think Job has the last word on that one. So there he is, blinking in the noonday sun at his replacement family and kids and the whole balagan. But you see, the thing is, Job never really exists. The part we forget, the part we have consistently failed to integrate, the failure in the teeth of the success of Western culture's innumerable triumphs, is very simple. No matter what they say, no matter what slogan they chant, no matter what banner flies overhead, you cannot, nor imagine that you ever can, have it all. It's as simple as that, really. Yet that is the poison that eats at the heart of the body politic. At last the machine grows quiet. The heat death of the universe. Entropy is satisfied. What's left? What story to tell? Whatever it is must be entropy-driven. Energy is taken. I do my best to act festive, but an enormous gulf yawns between me and my old pal Seesaw that just isn't likely to be paved over. You could drive a coal truck through it. I'm staring into the face of the Fourth Reich. I won't reconnect with Seesaw in any meaningful way until my next life with him, as Caleb. Sad. Since the redemption, we've actually revived our old poker gang. Having Seesaw as my faithful canine companion in the intervening incarnation goes a long way toward mending the breach. When the dinner's over, maybe 30 minutes or so before sunset, I motion for a waitress. I have a kind of strange request. Now they're all staring at me at the dinner table. Before the sun goes down and Tisha B'Av is upon us, I need an egg to stand in for the ancient temple sacrifice, and a pile of ashes. The temple itself burned to the ground by the Romans. Could you ask the chef to hard-boil an egg for me? And when you bring it out, could you also bring a lighter or some matches and a paper towel? I'll have to ask the manager, sir. The poor girl's tenuous response. I tell her it's for a religious observance. I'm a regular customer, so I don't expect any trouble. Seesaw and Anya are giving each other cockeyed smiles. Another weirdness a la Michael. Poor Anya, a good soul. She loves Seesaw. She's trying desperately not to get dragged down the moral rat hole with him. Neither of them have any idea where I'm going with all this religious stuff. Beth knows and sits there staring stiffly, a suppressed eye roll. And I know, probably. Except in my heart, I believe that the purpose of life is to spread bliss. Where's the bliss in this? I must be bliss-taken. Crack your toe in the bedpost in the dark and cry out, Holy light of eternity, infuse me now. I'm just not there. Loss, pain, but no bliss in sight. When the waitress comes back with the egg and the implements of destruction, I look her in the eye and thank her. She backs away from the table, mystified. I remove the saucer from under my coffee cup, crumple the paper towel on it, and before Beth can say, Oh, Michael, don't, I light it ablaze and watch it instantly turn to ash. A few glances from nearby tables, but the conflagration is brief and contained. Crack and peel the boiled egg, roll it in the pile of ash, and with nary a blessing down the hatch. Chase with a crust of bread and a gulp of tasteless tap water. Seesaw and Anya are silent, caught between horror and hilarity. Tisha B'Av, I mutter, tumbling into the spiritual nadir of the Hebrew liturgical calendar. Destruction of the temple. I can't explain any more. The gulf is just too broad. Sundown. Time to go. The fast begins.